We still have COVID. So here is my mom. She's going to be one of my audience members. We'll get started. Okay, here is Nanny. Here, hold Nanny, please. Okay. My informative speech is going to be about the annual changes of our native whitetail bucks. And how many of y'all like to look at bucks? See big, pretty whitetail bucks? Y'all do? Good. Did y'all know that all their horns fall off every single year? Well, as we sit here, I'm going to tell y'all a little bit about what happens to a buck every single year, because I've done some research, and we are a very conservation-minded hunting family. So I'm going to tell y'all a little bit about the three things. We're going to talk about how they're hard-horned when we can hunt them, when they're in velvet, when their horns are growing, and then what it takes for the makeup of what makes their antlers grow. And first, we're going to talk about the makeup of the antlers. So the antlers are these right here. And in order for them to get big, there's three main things that come into factor. It is about their genetics, so who their daddy is, if they got a big daddy with big horns, their age, and then their nutrients, how much food they get, like to fill their tummies. So if it's a very poor year, if there's not a lot of food for them, or if people don't put out corn or protein, the deer will be poor. The healthier the deer, the larger their antlers will be. So the more they can grow, the more they eat, the more they can grow and get big. The genetic. Whenever you have a good line of genetics, they have a really big daddy, a really big granddaddy, it's likely that they're going to be pretty big bucks as well. And then age. The age comes into factor because every single year when a buck's antlers fall off, they come back and they're bigger. They get bigger every year. That's why you have to wait until they mature and get big enough in order for us to harvest them. And then the growing of the antlers. So in this image, do y'all see that the antler, this is from mid-January to mid-April, they lose their antlers. And then they start growing back the end of April. And whenever they grow back, there's a velvety texture on them. They feel fuzzy. They're very fuzzy, and it's velvet. And the velvet protects the antlers because the antlers are alive and they're growing. They're alive. They're growing, and they're soft underneath. That's why the velvet protects them. And then in the beginning of September, the deer start to become hard-horned. And when they become hard-horned, in about 20 to 25 days it takes for their horns to get hard, they'll start rubbing this velvet off. They'll start brushing their antlers against trees, and it'll make all this velvet come off. It looks kind of nasty, but that is very important for them to do, for that cycle to go on. And then when they're hard-horned, so they're hard-horned from late September to the beginning of January, like we talked about, and that is whenever we're able to hunt them, whenever we're able to harvest the animal. It's very, very crucial. It's important for a deer to be hard-horned and have hard horns, because so in our hunting season in late October, mid-October to January is also the deer's mating season. So the bucks will fight each other with their horns, with their antlers, to show their dominance, to say, oh, look at me, girls, I'm the dominant one. And then they can also use their horns to fend off any sort of predator, because in the winter months, food is more scarce. It's a little bit harder to get food. It's wintertime, there's not much of it. So they can use their horns in very different ways. And we like big bucks, so we like it when they're hard-horned. I hope that y'all now know a little bit more about what happens to our native whitetail buck annually, and I hope that I was able to adequately explain the different things that do happen through them and why it's important that each of these happen. And I hope that y'all enjoyed this as much as myself and my family, because we think it's very important to be knowledgeable about the management and growth of our bucks. Thank y'all.